So this is quite a tough one, and I'm really interested to.
What's next on
People
the list?
have all the resources they need to succeed. That sounds a bit grand, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound a bit grand, and it sounds over-promising or under. I don't know, is that the right phrase? I was going to say under respecting some of the issues people have, if that makes sense at all. What I mean by that is I think often that with that people will go immediately to thinking resources as in money, buildings, people, things, computers. If you said to someone who let's go with a real kind of example of a scenario. So say someone's been unemployed for 6 months, and they've got no car, they've just about got a place to live and stuff like that, but they've got no car, and whatever, and someone's, well, you've got all the resources you need. That can be a tough pill to swallow, can't it? Because it's like, well, hang on, what are you saying? It's my fault I'm like this? Are you saying that I could have done something? But actually, there's probably some truth in that, isn't there?
I think yes, I do think there is, and like yourself, I found this a particularly difficult one to understand. And behind this, I think it's more referring to state, isn't it? Resourceful state of mind. So we can be, if we're on a desert island and there's nothing there, seawater, a couple of palm trees, a bit of sand, a couple of parakeets, we're probably going to eat the parakeet, aren't we? We're probably going to try and eat the parakeet. Fairly likely. One or two of the parakeets. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at what we have to hand. We've got nothing else.
Yeah.
People that are, and I use this particularly with people that have behavioural issues, and I look at the resources that they've had. What resources have they had available to them? Have they had a chaotic upbringing? Have they had absent parents? Have they had abuse in their life? So when we talk about resources, it's not necessarily a pocket of money. It's what have I got available to me at the time. And I think, to get into a resourceful state of mind of what have I got, rather than how I took this, is that there are resources there, but it's down to me to try and find them.
Yeah.
And there are people that have risen up against all adversity. I mean, whatever you think of the politics, I look at Nelson Mandela, and I know we were taught a lot about this when we were talking through this on the course I did with regards to this topic, and black, imprisoned for goodness knows how many, shy of 30 years or what have you, went on to lead a nation. Now, the resources were there. He found them. I know that's absolutely extreme, but people are resourceful, aren't they?
Or can be.
But they look at what. But when you go down and down and down and down and down, and I've been in some fairly dark places in my life, and when I've looked around to the resources I had, at times the only resource I had was a pretty good intellect level, a lot of friends, and the ability to go out and talk to people and try and get work. Now that's resources, isn't it? So I'm using those resources.
You're using both resources and your resourcefulness.
So that's, and getting myself into a state that actually, and a lot of my coaching focuses on this, of somebody saying, I'm not this, I'm not that, I can't do this, I can't do that. But when you actually talk through what can you do, that's what I take this to be. What have you got around you? Yeah. Well, I suppose I could talk to him. I suppose I could ask her. I suppose I could go for that job interview. Yeah. So now you're starting to shift across into a resourceful state of mind, aren't you? And I think that's what that is. So the resources are there, aren't they?
Yeah, I think what can jar with that one or make it difficult is the word all. It's that you've got all the resources you need. I think if you say, you've got the ability to recognise the resourcefulness within yourself in order to be as resourceful as you possibly can be, or something like that, that makes a lot of sense. And so much of it is about perception, and also I think we can be really good at putting blocks in our own way, in the sense that there's no point in doing that because that won't happen, and on it goes. I won't get the paper because there won't be any jobs in it, that kind of thing. Well, it's like, well, okay, well, what else could you do then? What else could you do? If you think that's not what, could you put a postcard up in the shop window? And if you haven't got the money to do that, could you say to the shopkeeper, I haven't got the money to do that, is there something I can do to help you, in order that, would you swap me 4 weeks of advertising a postcard or something? And I'm just giving some examples, but again, it's how do you work that out in a way that you might be able to turn it into something resourceful, rather than just putting a blocker in straight away.
And that is absolutely, isn't it? That's absolutely where it's at, is using those resources if you can find them. And we can't always find them. So I think that's where.
And it's very easy, if you're in a resourceful state, to say to someone, come on, be resourceful. If you're in a really unresourceful state, it can be really hard. I get that. And
very irritating. And I expect, I have been on the other end of it, where people have said, well, I've done it, so can you. Yeah. Well,
you've just got to think positive, Jules.
Just think positive. Just think positive, get up and smile. And that's really irritating, isn't it? So I think, to actually encourage somebody to look at what they have got, you can actually see the physiology change, can't you? You can see the mind opening to, well, no, I haven't got that. And yes, it is rubbish, but I could have that. And then it starts, the little chink starts to get bigger and bigger, doesn't it?
What's the one small thing you could do then? What's that first step you could do?
The first tiny step.
And sometimes that's just a case of speaking to someone, ringing someone, whatever it might be. Doing a quick Google search for something, just to start something off.
So it's not quite as highfalutin as it sounded, is it? It's not. And I'm glad we spoke through that one, because if you said that to somebody, like you say, you could get that proverbial punch on the nose.
Oh, definitely.
Saying, well, you've got all the resources.
Yeah.
Go
I think
fine.
You could probably get it not even be a proverbial one.
I hope not. So